Ready to dive into a story that might just make you want to brush up on your Portuguese.
Ooh, tell me more.
We're heading over to Portugal, virtually speaking, of course.
Always a good destination.
But this isn't just a quick trip, it's about one woman's dream to actually live there.
Wow, that's a serious commitment, making the move and all.
Exactly. And she's doing it right, starting with the language we're talking about, Catherine and her Substack, from dream to reality,
Okay, so she's documenting the whole journey.
every step of the way. She's aiming for 2025, Central Portugal, but the language learning, that's already in full swing.
Smart move. It's one thing to visit, another to really get a place. Can't do that without the language.
And that's exactly her point. She talks about connecting with people, her future neighbors, on a deeper level, not just getting by, but really belonging.
It's like you can read a menu or you can have a conversation with the chef about their grandmother's recipe.
That's a great way to put it. And she even mentions this word desenrascar. Have you heard of this one?
Oh, desenrascar. Now that is a good one.
Yeah.
It's like quintessentially Portuguese.
Okay, now you have to explain that. What makes it so special?
Well, you could translate it as to sort out or to disentangle, but it's so much more than that.
I'm intrigued.
Imagine this. You're in a new place, something goes wrong, could be anything, right? And instead of panicking, people just kind of figure it out, with a smile even. That's the desenrascar spirit.
So it's like resourcefulness, but with a uniquely Portuguese attitude. I love that.
Exactly. And that's what I love about language learning. It's like a window into how a culture sees the world.
So true. Now, Catherine, she's really taking this seriously. Even though her move is still a bit away, she's found all these fun ways to make Portuguese part of her daily life.
Like what? Give me some ideas.
Well, she's a big fan of Portuguese radio.
Oh, I love that.
Mm.
Even if you don't catch every word, it just gets in your head.
Right. It's like eavesdropping on your future life, getting those rhythms and sounds into your brain.
And it makes it less intimidating when you actually have to speak it because it's already familiar.
Makes sense. It's like anything, the more you're exposed to it, the more comfortable you become. She also listens to a ton of podcasts.
Oh, smart. You can find those about anything these days, probably even ones on how to renovate a farmhouse in Portugal.
Speaking of, she's actually planning to do some renovations over there, which is why she's been focusing on all this housing vocabulary.
Practical. It's one thing to know how to order a coffee. It's another to explain what needs fixing on your roof.
Exactly. And I love that she's really tailoring her learning to her own goals, makes it so much more meaningful.
It does, and it makes it stick because you're actually using the language, not just memorizing it.
Speaking of using it,
Yeah.
she's got this trip coming up. And it's not just a vacation, it's more like a fact-finding mission.
That's a great idea.
She's going to check out different areas, meet with locals, maybe even try out some of her Portuguese on real people. It's like taking her learning to the next level.
I love that. She's not just dreaming about it, she's actively making it happen.
Exactly. And I have a feeling she's going to have some amazing stories to tell when she gets back. But before we get ahead of ourselves, there's one more thing I wanted to touch on. She keeps mentioning this word saudade. Any idea what that's all about?
Saudade. Now that one is tricky to translate. It's more like a feeling, a very Portuguese feeling.
Okay, now I have to know more. What is this saudade?
Think of it as a kind of longing,
Mm-hmm.
but not just any longing. It's mixed with nostalgia, maybe a bit of melancholy, even happiness for what was, like missing something deeply, but cherishing the memory of it at the same time.
Wow, that's deep. It sounds like it's more than just a word. It's like a whole way of looking at the world.
Exactly. And it's so central to Portuguese culture. It's in their music, their literature, even their everyday conversations.
It makes me think that learning a language is about so much more than just the words themselves. It's about understanding the heart of a culture.
100%. And who knows, maybe we'll discover a bit of our own Saudade along the way.
Maybe we all have a little bit of that in us, just waiting to be discovered. It's like that feeling you get when you hear a song from your past, brings back all these memories, good and bad, but it just hits you in this really profound way.
Exactly. It's like Saudade gives you permission to feel all of that, to acknowledge those layers of experience without getting stuck in the past.
It's kind of beautiful when you think about it that way.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Catherine and her Portuguese journey, because she's not letting any grass grow under her feet. She's all about making this happen.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things I love about her approach is how strategic she's being with her vocabulary. It's like she's building a personalized language toolkit based on what she'll actually need in Portugal.
Right. It's not just about memorizing random words from a textbook. It's about learning the language through the lens of her own experiences and goals. Like, she talks about how she's been focusing on words related to housing and renovation because she's planning to fix up this old farmhouse.
Which makes perfect sense. I mean, how often do you actually need to use the word for rhinoceros in
Right.
everyday conversation?
Yeah.
But knowing how to say roof or plumbing in Portuguese, that's gold when you're dealing with contractors and building supplies.
Exactly. It's all about context, right? And she even mentions that she's been specifically practicing words like telhado, which means roof, and canalização, which is plumbing. So she'll be prepared for those real life situations.
Smart move. Because let's be honest, nothing throws you off like trying to explain a leaky faucet in a language you're still learning.
Hmm.
It's like suddenly your vocabulary shrinks to about 10 words and you're stuck using a lot of hand gestures.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
But it's also about more than just the practical stuff. Catherine's also making sure she can fully appreciate the culinary delights that Portugal has to offer.
Yes. Food is such an important part of any culture, and often the gateway to really understanding a place. I bet she's already got bacalhau at the top of her list.
You know it. She specifically mentions wanting to be able to order that delicious codfish like a pro. And of course, no Portuguese meal is complete without a generous drizzle of azite.
Oh, that beautiful olive oil. Just saying the word makes me think of sunshine and fresh bread. It's amazing how language can evoke those sensory experiences, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like you can practically taste the words. But speaking of experiences, Catherine's not just waiting around for her move to experience Portugal. She's got something really exciting coming up.
You're talking about her trip.
Exactly. She's actually heading over there soon. And it's not just a casual vacation. She's calling it a reconnaissance mission.
Love that. It's like she's sending in a scout before the big move.
Exactly. So instead of just seeing the tourist sites, she's planning to really dig deep and get a feel for what it would be like to actually live there.
She can scope out different neighborhoods, talk to locals, maybe even test out some of her Portuguese in real-life situations.
And hopefully sample some more of that delicious food while she's at it. But seriously, it's a brilliant way to bridge the gap between dreaming about a move and actually making it happen.
Absolutely. It's about turning those fantasies into a concrete plan, addressing any concerns she might have, and coming back with a much clearer vision of what her life in Portugal could look like.
And probably a suitcase full of stories and inspiration, too. It's like she's getting a sneak peek at her future life and coming back with all this firsthand knowledge.
Exactly. And that's invaluable because it allows her to fine-tune her plans, make adjustments based on what she learns, and ultimately feel more confident and prepared when the time comes to make the actual move.
It's like she's taking all the guesswork out of it.
Precisely. Now, speaking of feelings and experiences, you mentioned earlier that Catherine keeps mentioning this word saudade. Did you want to unpack that a bit more?
Yes. It's such an intriguing word, and it seems to be deeply intertwined with the whole Portuguese experience. Like, it's more than just a word, it's a feeling, a way of life almost.
You're right, it is. Saudade is one of those words that can't be easily translated into English because it encompasses so many different emotions at once.
It's like, how do you sum up an entire cultural concept in just one word?
Exactly. It's a feeling of longing, yes, but also nostalgia, melancholy, a bittersweet yearning for something or someone that's absent. It's about cherishing the past, even while embracing the present.
It makes me think of that feeling you get when you're looking through old photographs and you're hit with this wave of emotion, remembering people and places and times gone by.
That's a perfect example. It's that bittersweet mix of joy and sorrow, the realization that time passes, things change, and we carry those memories with us.
It makes you wonder if maybe Catherine will feel a sense of saudade for her old life, even as she's building this new one in Portugal.
It's definitely possible, and it wouldn't diminish her excitement for this new chapter. It would just add another layer of depth and complexity to her experience.
It's like even as she's saying hello to Portugal, there might be a part of her that's also saying goodbye to a past she'll always carry with her.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of Saudade. It allows us to acknowledge those feelings of longing and loss without letting them overshadow the joy of new beginnings.
It's a reminder that life is full of these bittersweet moments, these transitions that shape who we are. And I think Catherine's story is so inspiring because it shows that it's okay to embrace those complexities, to feel those things deeply, and to keep moving forward with an open heart.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the full spectrum of human experience and recognizing that even those feelings of longing and nostalgia can be a source of strength and inspiration.
Well said. And it makes me think that even if we never move to Portugal, we can all learn something from Catherine's story.
Absolutely. Because at its core, it's a story about following your dreams, embracing new challenges, and connecting with something bigger than yourself.
It's a reminder that life is an adventure. And sometimes the most rewarding journeys are the ones that take us outside of our comfort zones and challenge us to grow in unexpected ways. And who knows, maybe along the way, we'll even discover a little bit of that Saudade within ourselves. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.